I come tonight aware that even as we celebrate 52 years of existence and the progress that has been accomplished by this organization over the last 52 years, the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the American promise remains unfulfilled. What made Dr. King's leadership different, and what will make our leadership different, is that Dr. King possessed the godly love and Christ-like reconciliation that we must all seek. Still tonight, we must realize that reconciliation is merely repute rhetoric if it is not built on the foundation of sincerity, truth, and righteousness. Over the past several months, the enemies of justice and fairness have been quick to raise the question if, in fact, there is a need for the Sclc. In my brief remarks tonight, I want to reflect with you on where we've come from, where we find ourselves, and where we must go from here. If the prince of the most significant social movement is true, is correct, and what affects one of us directly ultimately affects all of us indirectly, then the social challenges of our time beg the question, where are we really and where have we come from and where are we going? Because from Decatur to the Dakotas to the diaspora, people in God's humanity are still living in utter hell. Over the past several months, many have wondered why I continue to fight for the survival of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the protection and due process of those who have built this organization. Well, I am of the belief that many of the challenges that face my generation, the so-called hip-hop generation today, stem from a sense of self-loathing brought on by misinformation and misindoctrination about who they are. If we don't commemorate and celebrate the lives of our honorees tonight and those on this board of directors at whose pleasure I serve, our generation will continue to take their marching orders from the filthy music and derelict culture that they hear on the radio and see on television every day. Right now, a reporter once asked me, what is the difference in the work you do today, the work Dr. King, and Abernathy, and Joe Lowry and those did in the 1960s? I stopped for a moment and responded to her, things have got so bad for us today. Not only do we have to march across the bridge, we've got to build the bridge before we can march across it. So I say to you tonight, as the youngest president of Sclc since Martin Luther King Jr. himself, I must say that your leadership has brought us a long way. We've crossed many bridges, but we have more bridges to cross. We have more miles to march. We need your support, and with your support, we will lead this organization into the next phase of our movement. In so many ways, Dr. King's revolutionary dream has become a virtually useless nightmare. The controversial Alabama activist has become an iconic American idol with a growing holiday and yet a fading significance. And far too many people misuse him for their own purpose to the cruel disregard of his own principles. The definition of Dr. King and Sclc have slipped from the aggressive prophet who stood even in the face of unpopular opinion to a passive dreamer who faced just the same. I was born nearly a decade after Dr. King was killed, but sometimes, Bishop, I can almost hear Dr. King saying to me, Markel, I am frustrated that there are so many institutions and schools and organizations that bear my name, but so few who are willing to bear my cross. Sclc, our continued mandate is not just to hang Dr. King's picture in our building, but to hang his courage deep down within our hearts. More than 40 years after his assassination, Dr. King's dream is still not a reality for far too many Americans of every race, color, creed, and that's exactly why the Sclc will live on. Over the past several months that we have endured controversy, I've heard time and time again, Judge Moore, say Dr. King must be turning over in his grave with y'all and all that controversy. And sometimes I don't say anything, but sometimes Reverend Shanklin, it rises up in me and I have to tell him, well, you don't know the Dr. King that I've read about. Because that Dr. King said the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. I don't know about anybody else, but controversy don't bother me. If we could hear Dr. King awake today, I believe Dr. King would tell us, I'm turning over in my grave not because of controversy, but I'm turning over in my grave because even with a face of color in the world's seat of power, the world without mass destruction, mass poverty, systematic racism, and militarism that I dreamed of when I went to sleep has turned into a functional nightmare from the East Coast to the West Coast. And then we get loud about things we ought to be quiet about, and get quiet about things we ought to be loud about. But we cannot restore and redirect or revive our collective struggle without the leadership of those elders who have come before us. So tonight, Sclc, we may be in crises. We stand at a crossroad. The question is, will we move forward in progress? Will we stand still in fear? Or will we go backwards with revenge? When will we have the courage to lay aside our propensity for power and choose peace over chaos? But then we must extend the conversation. If we are to realize full restoration, we must get back to what made Sclc what we were. That's why there was no question about when we were planning this convention, would we go to a downtown hotel or would we come to church? Our organization is built on